Hey everyone, it's me, Nicole, aka the Groovy Writer, coming to you from the road. So, something really exciting happened this weekend. One of my books became an Amazon #1 bestseller. I want to talk a little bit about what led up to that, some things I have learned and continue to learn, and essentially what that means when that happens, because it sounds amazing, and it is pretty amazing, but sort of peeling back the layers, peeling back the curtain a little bit on how that happens. And it was a surprise to me. That wasn't even something I was thinking about when I re-released this novel, but it happened, and I can give some indication to tell you why I think it happened and how it's clearly not out of the realm of possibility for this to happen for really any author who is willing to do the legwork, do the research, and I don't want to say make it happen, but at least really increase your odds of that happening for your book as well. Okay, so this is a novel that I wrote it sold in 2011, so I wrote it, 2010-ish. It probably took me a year or more. Even though it's a short novel, I'm a little bit of I shouldn't say slow writer, but I'm not someone who can just, hammer out a novel in a matter of months. And I've said in this podcast that I really admire people who can do that, but that's not me. So I wrote this over a decade ago. It sold in 2011. It was published by a publisher called Holiday House, which is a well-known children's publisher. I think they're the oldest children's publisher in the United States, if I'm not mistaken. And at the time, they were in the really cool historic building in New York, and it was just a really cool experience to have that published. And librarians were my friend with that book, because librarians typically get children's librarians especially, typically get the Holiday House catalog and often order from that. And so because it was YA, young adult, it was in the Holiday House catalog after publication, and so librarians were great. Readers in general were wonderful, and I did quite a bit of promo in 2013 for that book, but librarians were fantastic. So the book had a life. It wasn't a huge bestseller. It didn't sell 1 million copies. It was nothing like that. Sorry, I have a hair that's being stubborn in my face. But it did pretty well, and it was the debut, and it was exciting, and I learned so much with that book. I learned all about traditional publication and what that entails, so that when my next book was published traditionally by Macmillan, I was really well educated into what that was going to entail. And I continue to learn, because I don't think you're ever done learning where publishing is concerned. But I continue to learn and to, again, sort of try to peek behind the curtain, because publishing is nothing if not opaque. And I think that is probably very intentional, and that has allowed the publishing process to really maintain its mystique and appeal for writers. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it is an issue, and I think it's something that has become more of an issue recently. I talked about that in my previous episode. But that book was my debut. It sold okay, nothing crazy, and then I went on to write the next book and the next book and so on. Eventually, we got a letter from the publisher saying, hey, we're no longer going to be publishing YA. We're just going to focus on really young kids' books, picture books, board books, that sort of thing, early readers. And I said to my agent, who was my agent at the time, can we get the rights back to this? It sounds like it's pretty much going out of print, which was in my contract, that if the book goes out of print, the rights can revert to the author. And I don't know that they were actually planning on completely pulling it out of print. I also think probably they had copies that were unsold from the print run. I can't remember how many print runs that one did, if it was just one or if it was multiple, but they had unsold copies, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know that they were trying to get rid of it, but they just weren't going to, I think, keep it in the catalog moving forward, or any of their YA titles. So no big deal. So we requested a rights reversion. That letter came back that the rights were reverted to me. And then again, I'm going to cover this quickly because I talked about it in a previous episode. the rights reverted to me, and I proceeded to sit on it for a couple years. I didn't know what to do with it. I was not interested in going indie. I was not interested in that at all because I knew the work it would entail to sort of rebrand the book. So I sat on it for a few years and just kept it in the back of my mind, not really doing anything with it, but it was always kind of back there, sort of percolating. And so about a year ago, I decided to finally get kind of serious about it, and I started to do the research, and I figured out what I needed to do to get a new cover. There are many options for doing that, by the way. I wanted to update the book because some of the language and references were pretty dated. It's a teen book from a decade ago, so that stands to reason that things were going to be a little dated. I wanted to change some of the language because it's been 10 years. My writing has definitely evolved since that point. But still, these were light edits and updates. This was nothing major. I didn't change anything major about the book at all. I kept all the same title names, all the same, references in general, but just updated everything. So I had a crash course ahead of me how to then publish this. The good thing was I had all of the editing done. It had been beautifully edited by my editor at Holiday House, and it had been proofread, and it had been just the team over there was great. And so they had really done all that work to make the book a quality product. So that was something that I think kind of tipped me over the edge as far as being willing to even consider re-releasing this novel. So I figured out what I had to do. I figured out the formatting because I needed to reformat the entire thing. I had a copy of it, but it was really not a workable copy that was formatted in a way that I could just easily upload it. So I had to figure that out. I started trying to format by hand. I ended up going with a program that I'm very happy with. And I went ahead and re-released on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, the ebook version. I actually just yesterday got the paperback proof, so that is coming soon, but I wanted to at least get the ebook out there. In the meantime, there are still old copies out there with the old cover and none of the new edits, so that's kind of funny. That also entailed a lot of communication with Amazon, and they are great. The people at Kindle Publishing, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, they are so great as far as customer service is concerned because I wanted, certain things to carry over. I wanted to make sure the book was, that it was also on my author page, even though the cover was different and it was being re-released, and they were just fabulous. So I did that. So got that done a few weeks ago, was happy with the result, looked through it, checked through it, and thought, okay, it's out there. And it is now the updated version showing plus the older version showing. But I started to think, I really want to promote the updated version to start driving any readers who might be interested. And especially, the book is great for reluctant readers. So that's one of the things that I've heard from librarians, that it's a book that they can sort of direct their reluctant readers to, male or female. And it's a little shorter, and it's just an approachable novel, apparently. So that's been great too. And so I wanted to sort of give it a little new life. And I thought, all right, what am I going to do? So there's a website I've used, and it's called Written Word Media. And they've done a promotion for me in the past for my adult novel, The Gilead. And I thought the results were pretty neat when I did this promotion. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a promotion for Brianna on the Brink. So I set it up. There's a whole process you have to do that I won't go into in detail in this episode, maybe a future episode. But you basically essentially have to ensure that your book will be either on sale or free during the period of the promotion. Okay, so you have to do it on the Amazon KDP end, and you have to also do it on the book promotion end, and make sure you're careful about your scheduling so that you're not promoting a book that's saying it's free or on sale while it's actually not when readers go to download it. So did that. Everything went swimmingly. My promotion was set to go live this past Saturday, and I always double check things to make sure it's live and that I got everything right and I didn't accidentally send readers to a totally different location and they could actually get the book. And everything was good. And so I didn't forget about it, but I kind of forgot about it. I sort of went on with my weekend and did what I needed to do, and decided midday Saturday, maybe it was late in the day Saturday, I can't remember exactly. I thought, oh, let me go just pop over there and check my stats, because you can, I don't know if it's real time, but if it's not real time, it's close to real time. You can check your stats and see how many people have downloaded the book. And it was up to like 900-ish. And I thought, that's pretty good. It wasn't yet as many as had gone and downloaded. It doesn't just mean they click on the link, it means they actually download the book. It wasn't yet quite as many as had downloaded the Gilead. So I thought, okay, let me just wait a little longer. It's still, I think it was late afternoon. So then I checked it again a little bit later, and it was almost 1,000. I think it was 965. The last time I checked, it was, I think, 1,033. But at that time, it was almost up to 1,000. And I thought, okay, that's pretty good. Maybe it's a little different for YA. Maybe, it draws a slightly smaller download crowd. But I was still happy with that. I thought, that's cool. If it breathes a little new life and directs readers to the book, so people start to gain an awareness that, hey, this book is back out there, and look, it has a new cover, and it's the same book. And maybe readers who read it 10 years ago, who are now in their 20s, I have this idea that, wow, maybe someone read it 10 years ago in high school and is now like, oh, wow, I remember that book. I'll check out the new version. You never know. This is one of the things I'm learning about promotion. You don't know. It's all an experiment. And I think if you can treat it as sort of a fun experiment, that makes it so much more enjoyable. And I'm just getting a kick out of everything I'm learning from this process. So anyway, when I decided I wanted to double check everything again, a little bit of type A, right? I thought, let me just make sure that link is good. Clicked over, and then I saw something when it went right to the book, as it was supposed to do, and then I saw something when I scrolled down to look at the book details, make sure everything was looking ship-shape still. I hadn't changed anything, so I don't know why it wouldn't look ship-shape, but I just, maybe a little author paranoia. So I scrolled down and I saw number 1 in this one category that was books for teens, something, family and social relationships, adoption. And then number 1 in books for teens, what was the other category? I'm blanking on it right now, but basically 2 pretty large major categories on Amazon. The book, I'm looking at it going, wait, number 1? Wait a minute, what? And I clicked on the link, and it took me to the Amazon number 1 bestsellers page. And there was my novel from the first decade of the 2000s that I had written, number 1 Amazon bestseller in these 2 categories. Just, wow. Okay, so again, this is another episode, so I'm not going to do this whole thing, this whole explanation now. But basically, what I chalk it up to is that when the promo went live and people started clicking on that link and then downloading the book, that, especially the downloads, it's only downloads, Amazon looks at that and goes, wow, this book is kind of going like hotcakes right now. The Amazon bestseller lists update pretty frequently. And so Amazon, for that time period, apparently in those categories, my book was it. It was just going like gangbusters. And so I got the screenshot because I didn't know. I didn't expect this. I have not had this happen before. And so I thought this is probably going to disappear pretty soon. So I grabbed the screenshot. But I think what happens now, if my research that I've done, over the past year has been any indication, I think what happens is that number 1 stays in the details of the novel. And if it doesn't, no big deal. But I think that's how it works. So the long and the short of it is that was really fun. And the thing I dig most about it is, look, when you look at books on, say, the New York Times bestseller list or USA Today, any of the big bestseller lists, you have no idea how many books really have sold, how that happened. There is little, in my experience, please correct me if I'm wrong, but in my experience, there's little to no transparency about that process. And so you're just led to believe, wow, this book must have sold 2 million copies, even though it's not officially released yet or whatever. You see some crazy stuff on the bestseller list. So what I loved about this weekend in that experience was it was pretty much completely transparent. I could watch the numbers in real time, and I could deduce from that what was happening based on the timing of my promo, the numbers that people downloaded, and that was pretty cool. As an educator, that's something I love. I don't want to just see the end result. We all remember this from our math classes, right? Teacher doesn't want to just see the correct answer. The teacher wants to see how you arrived at the correct answer. Show your work. And for me, this was indie publishing showing its work. And it was an equation that I could work, and I could reverse engineer, and I can see how I got this really fun result that doesn't materially change things in a huge way. Probably not, but I have that #1 bestseller tag, and that is pretty cool. And again, the fact that it was totally unexpected. I was hoping to get more eyes on the book, maybe some more reviews. It just blew me away. So I just think it's fun, and I have that tag. So if you're interested in me going into more detail about the process, and every book is different, and again, my book was previously traditionally published. I don't know how that played into it, if at all. I don't know. I assume maybe it did to some extent. It doesn't have a lot of name recognition, I don't think, at this point, but maybe it was, a couple people were like, oh yeah, I remember that book coming out. I don't know. I have no way to know. But if you're interested in any further information on any part of this process, I'd be happy to do a video on that. But for now, I just kind of wanted to give an overview and let you know that that was kind of cool. I hope you had a great weekend as well. So I'll see you guys soon.